Silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone can be seated.
Announcements. Fire evacuation plan. Please note that in the event of an emergency, the fire department has requested that legislators and all others move at least 1 block away from the county office building in order not to impede the firefighters in their duties. Cell phones. Please silence cell phones for the duration of the session. Microphones. Please be reminded to use your microphones when speaking so that you are recorded for the official record. Roll call. Archer.
Present.
Bartels.
Here.
Collins. DeLon. Donaldson. Donaldson. Eckert.
Here.
Fabiano.
Here.
Gerantine. Green. Haynes.
Here.
Hepner. Litz.
Here.
Lopez. Mayo. Maloney James.
Here.
Maloney Joseph. Nolan.
Here.
Petit. Roberts. Rodriguez. Ronk.
Here.
Warrow. And Waltman.
Here.
22 present, 1 absent.
Excellent. One thing I just want to mention to the legislators, I see a lot of people leaning down towards the microphones, and during debate we might see some people lifting the microphone up. We have a friend of ours here from Hudson Valley AV. He's here to make sure that we're fine-tuning these microphones, so do your best to ignore the fact that it's there as long as it's on so we can get them working properly. As you all know, I've come to like having a session theme every month, and I try not to make it the same one, for the same month every year. This year, we're recognizing February as Black History Month, because it is Black History Month. Since 1976, every American president has designated February as Black History Month and endorsed a specific theme. The 2018 theme, African Americans in Times of War, marks the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I and honors the role that Black Americans have played in warfare from the American Revolution to the present day. Perhaps one of our most well-known African American fighting forces were the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II. Trained at Tuskegee Army Airfield in Alabama, these brave men were the first black military aviators in the U.S. Army Air Corps. More than 150 distinguished flying crosses were earned by these amazing trailblazers during the course of their 15,000 missions in Europe and North Africa throughout the Second World War. Their bravery and impressive military feats helped encourage the eventual integration of the U.S. Armed Forces. So everyone, make sure to remember that as we move forward through our February. And now we have birthdays. Legislator Kathy Nolan on February 1st. Legislator Jonathan Hepner, February 2nd. Legislator Collins, who is not with us, is February 21st. Legislator Lynn Archer on February 22nd. And our wonderful and talented Deputy Clerk Jay Mahler on February 23rd. At this time, I will entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the previous meeting's minutes. Second? All in favor? Opposed? And with that, Legislator Maloney, if you'd come up and fill the dais for me. Good evening, friends, colleagues, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve you and the people of Ulster County as your chairman. Over the last 2 years, we've accomplished so much for our shared constituents by working with each other rather than working against one another. Working with our countywide elected officials instead of trying to beat them to the punch or grab credit. Getting our disagreements out of the way in private, thereby being able to better work for the people in public without excessive strife. And my apologies to the members of the Fourth Estate, because I know that doesn't always make for the most engaging news, but I think it makes for the best government for the people. We have 8 new legislators who have joined us this year. Public servants of purpose with a vast diversity of background and experience. We have 2 small business owners, Legislator Archer and Legislator Maloney. We have a professor, Legislator Eckert, a pastor, Legislator Collins, a purchasing director, Legislator Waltman, and a recycling expert, Legislator Petit. And last but certainly not least, a New York State Senate District Office Manager, Legislator Haynes. With talent like this, joining those of us returning, imagine what we can accomplish when we put aside our partisanship, our pettiness, and our preconceptions, and work together to move Ulster County forward. In fact, I've written down a few ideas that I have on just exactly what we can accomplish. Term limits. Many of you who have been here in the past few years know I believe very strongly in both term limits and a 4-year term for the office of county legislator. I've sponsored it several times, but have always seemed to come up a few votes short. I'm thrilled, however, that a member of the 2018 freshman class, Legislator Joe Maloney, has picked up the mantle and run with it once again. Term limits themselves provide the potential to concentrate effort. If you know that you only have 12 years to accomplish your goals, to pass your resolutions, and to serve your constituents, it's likely that you would move more quickly, work harder, and compromise more often, providing the best government for the group who matters most, the residents and taxpayers of Ulster County. Legislators who serve for many, many years can also become complacent, get into a routine, and become part of what many people would call the system. Term limits would insert more turnover into the legislature, thereby minimizing these effects. Simply put, it has the potential to bring the best government to the people of Ulster County. Now on to the 4-year term. In my experience, there's a learning curve for new legislators. With almost a $330 million budget, countless departments and divisions, and even more individual services that we provide, the county operation can be really overwhelming at first glance. But just 1 year after getting elected, while you're still learning, still getting your bearings, you already have to run for re-election. In a 2-year term, you really only get 1 year of governing because politics dominates the next year, sometimes even less depending on how political the leaders behave. With a 4-year term, legislators will be able to spend more time working for their constituents and less time trying to keep their job. And the ones who benefit from that are the people that we represent. The second item is going paperless. The time has come for us to end our reliance on huge paper packets twice a month for caucus and session, along with additional packets for our 8 committees. For a county like ours, with our stellar commitment to the environment that has won us countless awards and centerfold recognition in National Geographic magazine, it seems absurd to keep using paper in this day and age. Nowadays, the term going paperless almost borders on cliche, so let me share a couple of rough numbers with you. 1 tree produces roughly 17 500-sheet reams of paper, which is a little bit more than a case and a half. On average, we use about 3 cases of paper per month for caucus and session packets alone. When you add the average of 27 cases that we order for the office each year, that number rises to 63 cases of paper per year, or 315,000 individual sheets, or more than 37 trees per year. By eliminating the dissemination of resolutions to legislators in paper form, we have the ability to drastically reduce Ulster County's contribution to deforestation. That's why I'm proud to say here this evening that there have been tablets ordered for the legislature and staff and should be arriving soon. By the end of this year, paper will no longer be used as the primary medium for us to look at resolutions and laws when we're in this building. Can't stop you from doing it at home, but in this building, we're going to be looking at them on tablets. We're also working with our great information services department to research software that will allow us to interact with the resolutions on the tablets, take notes, track changes, and essentially do anything you can do on a piece of paper. Now, I know change can be hard and uncomfortable at times. In fact, I know my wife, if she were here, would tell you that I don't take change too well either. But we do need to do our part to continue moving Ulster County to a more sustainable future. We owe that to our children. In fact, I've taken the first step toward that tonight. This is the only paper copy of my speech that's going to be handed out. But we already posted it online, so everyone can go home and look at it on your tablet or your computer or your smartphone, or print it out. I hope you don't print it, but you can if you want. As the Lorax famously said in Dr. Seuss, I speak for the trees have no tongues. Folks, let us be like the Lorax. The Green Ulster Sullivan Solid Waste Authority. For decades, the county legislature has been struggling with the issue of solid waste management. In fact, for most of my life, we all know that there's a problem with spending $55 a ton or more to export our trash to Western New York or elsewhere. But the right answer has seemed to elude us. The time has come for action on this issue instead of meetings or commissions. More than a year ago, I invited the chairman of the Greene County and Sullivan County legislatures to my office to discuss the possibility of a regional approach, GUS, the Green Ulster Sullivan Solid Waste Authority. We had meetings and even a trip to the best-run solid waste authority in the state, Oneida Herkimer. The UCRRA has taken the bull by the horns and commissioned a feasibility study, which will be ready for our review next month. Therefore, at this time, I'm calling a special session of the legislature on March 13th for the Resource Recovery Agency and for the consultant Cornerstone to present their findings. And I know that I have a commitment from the chairman of the Greene County Legislature that he and I are going to go to the presentations that are going to take place in the other counties as well. So he'll come to ours. I'm going to go to Greene County and Sullivan County, and I'm planning on speaking to Chairman Alvarez from Sullivan County about going to the other ones too, because I think it's important that we all have, sort of a buy-in on the presentations in our respective counties. In short, folks, assuming nothing else changes, GUS has the potential to save all three counties a combined $3 million a year, and that's if we don't do anything differently, and that's not my commitment. My commitment is to find a way to do something differently with our trash, and with the amount of tonnage that we're going to have with the three counties together, we'll have the ability to do just that. In the golden age of consolidation and efficiency that we live in, this is an opportunity that shouldn't be missed, overlooked, or underappreciated. For all their hard work on this project, I want to recognize and sincerely thank former Chairman Fred Wadnola and Executive Director Tim Rose. I look forward to working with them and all 22 of you to make GUS a reality. Over the last 2 years, we've really taken strides to define our role as a legislative body. I've made it a personal mission of mine to shepherd us toward that goal. We've been making a lot more accountable government by holding the other countywide elected officials accountable and pushing back when necessary while not playing the role of Chicken Little. That's why I removed the Government Efficiency and Review Committee and simply placed the review function in all the other standing committees. For example, it would be up to the Health Committee to ensure that our policy on methadone is being adhered to, and if not, why, and should it be changed to reflect feasibility. That's what we should all be doing as a body, and as long as I'm allowed to lead it, that's what I intend to do. Now, I know that you're probably tired of listening to me talk about working together. I know Legislator Rodriguez and I talked about it earlier. But in the communications and marketing field, they often talk about the rule of 7, which means that the average person needs to hear the same message 7 times before it sinks in. So here goes. Last year, at my request, the legislature passed a resolution creating a human rights task force. It was composed of volunteers from different areas and experiences, Maud Bruce from the NAACP in Ellenville, Jeff Rindler, the Executive Director of the LGBTQ Community Center, Rabbi Heck from the Chabad of Ulster County, Angelina Burrows, a transgender woman and transgender rights advocate, Dave Clegg, the chairman of our Human Rights Commission, and legislators Worrow and Hepner. I'm not exaggerating when I say that this task force was one of the most rewarding experiences in my 10 years as a legislator. Working with a diverse group of community members to draft a law on something as personal, as emotional, and as controversial as human rights, and seeing them work together was really inspirational. It showed me what can happen when people check their personal and ideological preconceptions at the door to work on something that will work for everyone. A law that fits Ulster County, not a cookie-cutter solution from another county or a jurisdiction, not something that we amend and change and try to shoehorn into Ulster County. I don't agree with everything in it, nor do I think that the other task force members did either. But what did happen was we all compromised without compromising our beliefs, something I really believe strongly in. Friends, that's what I would like us to do here. There's not a Republican or a Democrat way to pave the roads. Well, this time of year, I guess it'd be proper to say plow. So let us not try to create one to try to score cheap political points. Let us not devolve into the partisan cesspool that bubbles in Washington, D.C. and Albany. Let us be different. Let us work together because that's the only way we're going to be able to make Ulster County the best place in the world to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you. With that dispensed with, we're going to move into a period of public comment. Vicki, how many people do we have signed up?
17.
All right, we have 17 people signed up. Please keep it to 2 minutes. To the best of your ability.
The first speaker is Paul Fowler.
Mr. Chairman, members of the legislature, my name is Paul Fowler, and I run the Fowler Advocacy. And I kind of find it funny that Mr. Chairman touched on the methadone.
Can you speak up a little bit, Paul?
Yes, I'm sorry. That Mr. Chairman actually touched on the methadone clinic tonight. I found out some very disturbing news. When I handled the Wisniewski case, the young man that was given the methadone by Lindsay Latourette and OD'd in Sorties, I thought we came to an agreement that the clinic was going to be left open 7 days a week and that there would be allowed no more take-homes. In other words, they go on Friday and they get the whole weekend dose at once. And these drugs are turning back up on the streets of my town in Sorties. And I'm not happy with this. I thought we had an agreement with this, and what we're doing with this, by not monitoring this thoroughly, we're proliferating this problem. We're trusting drug addicts with drugs. What do you think's going to happen? We're going to have more deaths. It's a tough one. And on the 26th of this month, Chief Joe Sinagra, we're going to put on a clinic for the naloxone, Narcan, at the Greco Community Center. And I encourage everybody to come because you come, you sit through it, you get certified, and you wind up being able to get a kit for free. And I'm going to tell you, it's a life-saving device, and I don't have an answer to this problem. But I really think we really need to take another look into this. And why are we allowing this to happen? It makes absolutely no sense to me at all. Mr. Chairman, members of the legislature, thank you for giving me the time, hearing me out.
The next speaker is Josie Eric followed by Kathy Ruby.
I have come out of retirement, okay? Some of you are new members of the legislature. I'm very happy to look at each one of you and hope I can learn more about you as time goes by. My reason for being here tonight has to do with housing. It has to do with a pilot program. To where I live is at 1 Albany Avenue, the Governor Clinton, a historical building. My concern is how important each member of that living in that apartment complex and Yasmin Towers, they need help. And in order to get a guarantee, is its legislative body doing the right thing for all these people, not Miss Josie. Josie can find a place if I have to, but my heart is aching for each member of this legislature. You have to learn that it's people. Humanity, all that. As a former human rights commissioner in the city of Kingston, I can tell you, I've been in neighborhoods throughout the whole city. And this is so important that we do the right thing. And I have to close it off because I don't want to take extra time.
Thank you.
Kathy Ruby, followed by Deb Brown.
Sorry.
Okay,
For the people watching at home.
I know, but I'm not used to it. So, okay, my name's Kathy Ruby, and I also, like Josie, I do live over at 1 Albany Avenue in Kingston, the Governor Clinton apartment, and I have come to several different hearings and sessions with the city or the school board in regard to the pilot program, and I have in the last 2 months have been doing some research through Google on the folks that plan to buy the building. And one thing I know is that they have also recently purchased and updated, renovated apartments, over 500 apartments in the Capital District. And I have a lot of faith in these people. I know there's some folks out there that are very concerned, but I do hope that you do vote yes for them. And I'm looking forward to having the apartments and other things updated, especially the elevators, because those elevators are really old. So thank you for your time, and I hope you vote yes.
Hi, I'm Deb Brown. I'm going to try to make this quick. As you know, I used to be a common council member, and this issue came before us very quickly, and that is not a good thing. I'm going to talk about the application process, which was somewhat incomplete, and we as the council members never saw the application process before they wanted to start voting on it. A presentation was made by Kellerman and Roddick, very cursory, and we were supposed to move quickly on this because of the funds that were going to be coming into play on the end of the year, 12/31/17. In the interim, they neglected to say that there was a lawsuit going on between the partners. $5 million is what one is asking for. And that was brought up on 12/5. And then on 12/8, they actually filed the complaint. I have a copy of it, which the Common Council did not have. So I don't know how you can make a decision about who's going to get a pilot because you don't know who is going to get the property. There's two. There's Yasmin and there's DeWitt Clinton's. My concern is if the judge rules, if it goes to the point, is he going to split and say, okay, this one, plaintiff, you get this, and the other one, you get that. So now you've got a pilot in effect. So what happens then? I also want to make the senior citizens know I am not against senior housing. We need it. But I want to be sure you have a quality renovation when somebody comes in. The pictures that we have from some of the New York City that they did are haphazard. They're shoddy work. And I really feel that you need to have a place to stay while this is being renovated. They mentioned a hospitality room for you to us, but all you people, if there's an issue that the time limit runs over on your apartment, where are they going to put you if you can't go back into your apartment? Privacy aspect. I have several of you who are patients who need dressing changes. And are you going to be doing a hospitality suite when they're on your suite? But I also think we never saw the designs of this to see what exactly they're going to do, the time limit. But I think the most important, though, is the lawsuit, because I'm concerned who's going to get the property. And all I have to say is at the end is the victor who gets the spoils. Thank you.
Please, I'd like no. I've been hearing a couple of comments coming at the speaker after they're done. Just refrain from that, please. Just let everyone have their say. Some people are going to disagree with you, but that's America. Go ahead.
The next speaker is James Michael, who will be followed by R. Bruce McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like first to congratulate the new elected members, and I would like to thank you for waiting to.
Could you pull the microphone up a little bit? I'm sorry.
I would like to congratulate the new members being elected. I also thank them for willing to serve the public. And you all know my name. My name is James Michael. Presently I'm a school board trustee, and also I'll be serving on the Audit and Finance Committee for the last 5 years. As far as the Landmark Development Corporation request in the pilot program, that was done very late in the process. It was presented to the school board and also to the city of Kingston. Without an application, it was incomplete, a lot of inaccuracies, a lot of omissions. As a matter of fact, there have been added some information to the application after the city and the school district approved the pilot program. As I mentioned before, a $35 million project and creating no jobs for the community is unacceptable. It's a 35-year long-term pilot program, and I would now like to see the community subsidizing such a program. Besides that, we have all the legal issues that concerning this partnership that nobody knows how it's going to end, and I don't believe will be in the best interest of the community to wait to see what is going to happen. And as far as the legislature giving away $1 million of tax fees and waiving sales taxes, I think the community and the county can use that monies. Secondly, I would like to mention the mission statement of the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency. The mission of Ulster County Industrial Development Agency is to advance the job opportunities, general prosperity, and long-term economic vitality of Ulster County residents by targeting tax incentives, bonding, and other assistance to foster creation, attraction to new business, and also the retention and the expansion of the existing business.
Please wrap up your comments.
So let me say this. The Yasman Towers and the Governor Clinton building, they're going nowhere. They're staying where they are. And secondly...
Your time is up. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Bruce McLean, followed by Joseph DeFalco.
Okay. First of all, the comment has been made that Kingston and school passed this, and why should we interfere? The answer is simple. The buyer has lied to them by telling them the tax credits would expire by the end of the year in order to hurry passage without a true review. Secondly, the county stands to gain 50% of the $784,000 in sales tax, or $392,000, of which they would keep $337,000. In addition, there are recording fees that go to the clerk of $268,000. Secondly, there is a member of your group who must recuse himself tonight because he is a participant in a similar project in the district. If he were to vote, if he were to try to sell his, any inflated price for this project would directly benefit him. His voting would immediately trigger an ethics investigation, and we all know where that can go, and it can go anywhere. Now, closer to home, yet a few days ago, a project of 26 units was put up for $1.4 million. This is $53,000 a unit. These units were built 10 years ago. On the other hand, 200 units of affordable housing are announced at a price of $17.9 million. Roughly $3.5 million of that could be considered commercial, leaving $14.4 million. This is $72,000 per unit. But wait, the buyers say they have to put $17 more million into it and want the taxpayers to pay for it. Based on the asking sale price of the other parcel, The price should be about $10.6 million plus $2.1 million for the commercial part for a grand total of $12.7 million. Subtract the cost of repairs and deferred maintenance. If repairs are $17.9 million, maybe the sellers should be paying the buyers to take it off their hands. Isn't it ironic that the city assessor has these buildings assessed at only $6.4 million? Based on my valuation, the present tax rate, this is a potential loss right now to the city, county, and school district of $334,000. I don't know where to go with this, but I'll tell you where I've gone. I have written as a resident of the city of Kingston, and he asked the controller and the attorney general to conduct an investigation of the local industrial corporation. The letters have been sent out, and something's going to happen.
Bruce, your time's up.
Okay. I thought I had 3 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. My name is Joseph DeFalco, and I've spoken about this numerous times. First of all, I'm totally against the pilots because in order to pay for these pilots, I'm sure you understand how they're paid for. That the money that you lose in revenue is picked up by the non-homestead property owners. Okay? And then what happens, and I've seen this over the course of the years, they come down to City Hall, stomping their feet and crying, oh, we pay more than the homestead people. And then they come up with an equalization rate and transfer 20% of this property tax over to the homestead owners. This is your pilots. Okay? Your IDA, how many successes have they had? Because they've had a lot of failures, okay? And I understand that the IDA was created to create economic development, not affordable housing, okay? And at the end of it, the property taxpayer will have to pay for these improvements or whatever they're doing. Perhaps during the negotiation, what lawyer negotiated this deal with them? Didn't they send an engineer to assess the properties before they consummate this deal and find out this is wrong, that's wrong, and negotiate? Or just take it that the taxpayers will pick up the tab? Now, you all know who I am. I'm totally against this, and I'll remember in November. Thank you.
Lynn Lee Isaacs, followed by Clark Ennist.
We're not going to start the clock on you until you get up there. You're good.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the legislature, members of the press. My name is Lee Isaacs. I live in Kingston, about 2 blocks from Yasmin Towers, and I'm speaking in opposition to the pilot program for the Landmark LLC from New York City. The program they have suggested is maddeningly lacking in specifics as to what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and I understand they didn't even finish filling in the application. Have you any idea what would happen to the people of the Section 8 housing if they turned in an incomplete application? This is my property tax bill from the city of Kingston. I don't have the school tax one with me. This is for over $1,000. I figure I'll pay about $1,500 in taxes, which comes out to about 10% of my income, which is Social Security. I estimate that every year, it seems to go up. Every time an entity avoids their taxes with a pilot or a 501c3, the rest of us have to pay more. never send to ask for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for any one of you that's paying property taxes. It tolls for any one of you that's got their wheel stuck in a pothole or has been sliding around on a road that wasn't plowed because apparently the money has been cut back for this maintenance. Our tax dollars are subsidizing the ghettoification, it was a nice word, except I can't say it, of our poor and elderly in dilapidated Section 8 housing. It seems to me...
Please wrap up your comments.
Huh?
Please wrap up your comments.
Okay. Seems to me we're chasing the wrong cat up the tree. Why do we have so many people desperate to stay in Section 8 housing? What is happening to our city?
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Clark Ennist. I live at Yasmin. I've been there about 2 years. When I was a kid, I thought maybe I'd grow up to be a cowboy. But then I thought, no, maybe Superman. But then I got a little more realistic and I decided I was going to pitch for the Yankees. But all that time, I never thought I'm going to be a senior citizen with a heart condition that can't plow snow, cut grass, or climb a ladder. And I'll bet you guys, you've probably thought, maybe I'll sail the seas or fly in a jet or be a movie star. But you don't think one day I'm going to be old. And you don't think sometimes maybe I'll have arthritis so bad I'll have to use an elevator. I can't climb stairs. Now, I worked for 50 years. I paid taxes for 50 years. And I deserve to live in a safe, clean apartment. And you know what? You guys do too. Think about my future and yours.
Janice Bennett. Sally Urbeck. Sally.
I stand before you as a present-day senior citizen, and you as the future ones. We have lived fruitful lives, helped the economy with our endeavors, paid all our taxes due to the government. So please pass the pilot program and win our true gratitude and respect. Thank you.
Francesca Ortolano.
My name is Francesca Ortolano, and on Monday was 9 years that I managed the Governor Clinton Apartments in Yasmin Tower. Marty Aaron, with some help, built the Yasmin Tower and transformed the Governor Clinton Hotel into Section 8 subsidies and managed the buildings till his death. I've never met anyone. I'm from Brooklyn, but I've been here 27 years, and I've never met anyone who has had anything bad to say about Marty Aaron. He worked hard, he paid his taxes, and he cared for people less fortunate than him. After his death, when his daughter stepped up and started to run the buildings, she and her husband for many decades were committed to keeping these buildings Section 8 subsidies. She and her husband for many decades were committed to keeping these buildings Section 8, and they were proud of it. And so was Marty. In the 9 years I've worked for the Winnicks, they have renovated community rooms, replaced windows, built ramps, built gardens, renovated apartments, laid carpet, jute on the walls, and much, much more. Much more than just the typical upkeep. 90-year-old building, 40-plus-year-old building. They cared very much about the seniors, and they demonstrated it with love and compassion, not just numbers, because it's not just about numbers. It's about caring for those less fortunate. I've worn many hats in this building, much more than just a building manager. I've been lay social worker. I've been mediator. I've been lay pastor. I've been all many things. Today we had our 7th annual Sweetheart Luncheon. 2 of them, where we had many, many people in, speakers. We had cyber senior programs. We want to continue these. Now Randy and Lyle Wynick want to pass the torch to Kelman Raddick. They have done wonderful things in other buildings. You know, many people can say a lot of things that doesn't make it true. You have to speak to the people that live in these buildings. You have to speak to the people that manage these buildings. I have. They're right there. They've come out in 30-degree weather to show you how important it is. They love where they live, right?
Please wrap up your comments.
They love where they live, and they want to continue living there. So just because somebody is distributing pictures that show dirty bathrooms in some other property doesn't make it true.
Your time is up. Thank you very
Please
much.
pass the pilot program. Thank you very much.
Augusta Graff, followed by Don Capolino.
Good evening. I hope I'm speaking into the microphone. Everybody can hear me. A lot of you already know me because I've spoken before. Louder. You need it louder. They need it louder over there. Is that better? That's better. Okay. I know, like I said, I've spoken many times in favor of the pilot. I do live at Governor Clinton. I've been there 15 years. And I have no problems with my apartment. I just would like to have it updone a little bit, because although I have owned many homes in Kingston, I've always paid my taxes. If the people that are owning it now, Randy and Lyle, aren't paying their taxes, I don't think we'd be there. So the big thing about taxes, my taxes always went up when I owned these homes. Every year. School taxes and land taxes. And from what I've seen of all the paperwork from our new owners, 2% every year their taxes are going up, just like yours, all of you. The other thing I just wanted to mention, do you have children? Do you have moms and dads? Don't just think of yourselves. Think of us. I called my son last night, and he said to me, "Mom, don't worry about it. We'll take care of you." I don't want to live with my children. Does anybody here, would if you were my age, 74, would you want to live with your 54-year-old children? No. I want to be by myself, run my own apartment. And we do have an elevator, as people have said, it needs fixing, or new, perhaps. But I'm going to tell you, I believe everything that Brian has said. As far as I spoke to Debbie over there about the pictures, and I was told that those pictures were from the people who owned the building before them.
Please wrap up your comments.
So that's all I'm going to say. And I just wanted to ask, can I just ask Hector a question?
No. Sorry,
Okay.
that you can't address
Sorry.
an individual legislator.
I'll do afterwards.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman and county legislators, I'm, as you may know, I'm the attorney for landmark preservation, and I just want to make a couple. I'll make this very short. Number one, you're going to be they're going to be paying more than are presently being paid by the owners of the property. So there's going to actually be an increase in payments. So, and then it's going to be up 2% a year, compounded annually. That means that that's the highest amount that taxes are supposed to go up under the state system. It's either the lesser of the cost of living or the 2% cap. They've offered the 2% cap as a negotiated item with a higher amount. That's the first thing. Valuations are completely different for these kinds of buildings. You can talk about fair market value or not, and legislator James Maloney is an assessor.
Please don't identify individual legislators.
Sorry,
Speak to the.
You may talk to whatever the legislators you want who have expertise in this area and can tell you about what how these things are valued, but they're not valued based upon the purchase price. All of the subsidies that go with it are not under 581 of the real property tax law to be included. The lawsuit is a very late item, and it came about only with a disagreement between parties, and it's a civil matter between the two of them, and they are vigorously defending it. And finally, the county and the municipalities are all protected because of the way the documents are prepared. There is a pilot mortgage that will be involved here, so it is above anything else. And the project will not be jeopardized at all, no matter what happens in any lawsuit, although we're very confident this lawsuit won't last long and it will be dismissed. Thank you.
Maggie Mayer, followed by Maria Briggs.
Good evening.
Good evening. You hear me okay? Yes. Am I not to mention any legislator by name?
Yes, please.
Not to mention.
Not to mention.
All right. He's sitting over in the back. Thank you, sir. Purple tie. We love you. Okay, I'll make this quick because it's gotten really old. I'm getting grayer by the day.
That was good.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much. Okay.
Extra 10 seconds. No.
Now, come on.
Oh, it was good.
All right. We do? I'm sorry, I won't throw a tantrum. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for what you do. If anything, we've come away from this probably respecting more of what the Ulster County Legislature does. Because now we know who's voted for us and who hasn't. That's not a threat. I've seen one of your chairmen at work a couple weeks ago, and it was amazing. He stood up for what he believed in. But remember something, when you're wheeling and dealing in this assembly room, we're a democratic country, and there was a lot of lives that died so that you can represent us. Just remember. And the boys in Afghanistan, they're fighting wars right now for us. Allow us so that we can live with you and learn that you can do things right for us. And we'll be watching. So I hope, with your consciousness, you will please vote yes to make these renovations come finally true. Let us have a place to live. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Maria Briggs.
I'm coming. There you go.
My name is Marie Briggs. I am so proud to tell all of you I am 90 years old. I've seen the Osmond Towers being built with all the steel and everything, the bricks and all. I went there when they opened it up, and I said, Yasmin Towers is going to be my home. I've lived there now for 29 years, and when I go out on the street, I say to everybody, I want to go back to my home because I am proud of Yasmin Towers, and I hope the pilot program goes through. Thank you.
I'm kidding.
Alana Ross, followed by Thomas Wanning.
New leaf, Mary Beth, new leaf.
Hi, my name is Alona Ross, and I had intended to, I'm afraid I feel a little bit like a sacrificial lamb on my first attempt at being a citizen journalist, because we know which way the vote is going to go. I want you to know that there have been accusations that the photographs that I circulated were from the previous owners and that they were not necessarily true. They are true. I took those photographs last Tuesday. And for those of you who believe that, that the elderly matter, I want you to know that the person I spent 3 hours interviewing was a 77-year-old, 3-time cancer survivor who had asthma, who was housebound for 3 months because the elevator was out. And for those who live in Brooklyn and who seem to feel that perhaps my article and my science is not true, I want you to know that the residents who live in the Brooklyn house owned by Francine Kellerman and Brian Raddick also have published pieces asking that community housing not be given away to slumlords. I believe that I've heard that many of you feel that you're going to vote in favor of this because of a misguided interpretation of home rule. Home rule, federalism is one of the bases of checks and balances in our society. And just because prior and smaller jurisdictions may have had the wool pulled over their eyes does not mean that you should also. I came prepared with things to write, with things to read, and I've gone completely off and said what I want to say. I also heard some people say that you're afraid that putting this deal off and investigating it further may threaten the deal. I don't think that would be a bad idea. I think that the deal should be put off, at least to investigate further and see if the clawbacks and if conditions can be absolutely written in stone so that the same atrocities that I saw in New York City, the atrocities that I saw in New York City where you would not want a dog to live, much less these seniors. Please, the carrot and stick. Your time is up. The carrot and stick
Ma'am, please sit down. Ma'am, please sit down.
The last speaker signed up is Thomas Wanning.
I just want to speak again very briefly in favor of campaign finance reform, because this is the issue in our country, that democracy cannot exist where some can give sums that are totally beyond what we can understand how big they are. The Koch brothers, between them, have close to $100 billion. If you have in your assets $100,000, this means the Koch brothers can give to a legislator, a senator, $1 million as casually as you can give $1. $100 billion is 1,000,000 times $100,000. We live in a time when our democracy is for sale, and this is the issue of issues, when our legislators can be bought, you no longer have a democracy. We've pretty much lost at the federal and the state level. If we can claw back our democracy, it has to be on the local level. Thank you.
All right, that was our last speaker for public comment, so we're going to move into resolutions. Legislators Mayo and Rodriguez, do we have resolutions into or out of the consent package?
Yes, Chairman. We would like to move the following from non-consent to consent. Resolution 14, 15, 16, 22, 30, 37, 40, 52, and 62.
52 and 62, yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. On the consent package as
Oh, and we need to move resolution 46 from consent to non-consent.
46 from consent to non-consent.
Non-consent, yes.
And I'll second that amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
On the consent agenda as amended?
On the consent agenda as amended, we are short yes with the following abstention with Legislator Waltman, numbers 32, 41, and 42.
So we are a short yes with one abstention. Resolution 58, Legislator Petite.
The resolutions are adopted 22-0 with the exception of resolutions 32, 41, and 42, which are adopted 21-0 with one abstention, Legislator Waltman, and resolution 58, which is adopted 21-0 with one abstention, Legislator Petite.
Resolution 7, setting a public hearing on the sale and/or transfer of 3 easements across county-owned property, being a portion of the former Ulster and Delaware Railroad bed property located in the city of Kingston to the Ulster County Economic Development Alliance, Incorporated, UCEDA, a local development corporation.
On the resolution?
Hold on. I believe Legislator Donaldson would like to speak.
He's saying, wait.
Yes, I'd like to speak.
All right, Legislator Donaldson.
I have a feeling that that transferring property to the EDA is a method to avoid transparency, and in the past has shown to be contrary to good planning and good policy. So I will be a no on transferring any property to the EDA.
Thank you, Legislator Donaldson. On the resolution.
We are a short yes.
We are a short yes with the following noes: Donaldson, Hepner, Petite, Rodriguez. And
Bartels.
I didn't have you down. You're a no on this? Yes. Apparently we're a short no with the following yeses. Okay, apparently it's a stampede.
Can we
here.
start again? Because I changed mine.
Let's.
Too. Well, why don't he gather his thoughts and I'll start again.
As a matter of fact, at this point, I'm actually going to call it long roll because if we're all having this,
That's fine.
let's just do a quick long roll.
Let's just do it then.
Archer.
Yes.
Bartels.
No.
DeLon. Yes. Donaldson.
No.
Eckert. Fabiano.
Yes.
Gerentine. Green.
No.
Haynes.
Yes.
Hepner.
No.
Litz.
Yes.
Lopez. Yes. Mayo.
Yes.
Maloney James.
Yes.
Maloney Joseph.
No.
Nolan.
Yes.
Petite. No. Roberts.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
No.
Ronk.
Yes.
Worrow.
Yes.
And Waltman.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 14-8.
Resolution 8, approving the deviation by the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency relating to the terms and conditions of a certain pilot agreement to be entered into between the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency and Landmark Preservation, LP, in connection with the Landmark Preservation, LP project.
Legislator Green.
Yeah, I would like to speak to this because I'm in an awkward position tonight where there are 3 or 4 resolutions where I agree in principle, but I have to vote no because of concerns. In this case, my concerns are that we need to prevent the possibility of corruption, and we have an opportunity to do this by holding off and really listening to the concerns that were raised, seeing whether or not they hold water, and then make that decision. So I have concerns about trusting Landmark LLC with the lives and the properties that are in question. So it's very difficult for me because it puts me in a position of voting no when I am a very strong supporter of affordable housing.
Thank you, Legislator Green. Legislator Donaldson?
Yes, I have had several questions in regard to this pilot. Most of them have been assuring that they deliver on what they claim they're going to deliver on. You know, all too often we see the IDA give a pilot and they don't really deliver. But having said that, so we must hold them their feet to the fire to make sure that they deliver on what they claim they're going to deliver. In reality, there are 200 seniors that live in the 2 buildings, and they deserve good housing. These are people that worked for all of their lives, they've raised families, and perhaps maybe they didn't save enough money, maybe due to their sacrifices or maybe due to their health. But the pilot, as drawn up, will actually pay more in taxes than they do presently. And my concern with those senior citizens and the idea that, granted, it's not a great deal more, but it is more. And that is one of the reasons why I sponsored the resolution, and I will be a yes.
Legislator Waltman?
Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the consent to pilot deviation for Landmark Preservation LP, there are a few things that need to be considered before we vote. The current combined asset on the 2 parcels is $6.4 million. According to the agreed upon sale price of this transaction is $17.9 million. According to the executive summary that we all received, these buildings are currently reaching the end of their useful life. So why in a private sale with no other bidders did the value of these buildings reaching the end of their useful life, with, at least that's a representation of the buyer's attorney, increase so sharply? I don't know, and I'm curious. I would like an answer to that before I could vote yes for this. The proposed pilot deviation provides Landmark Preservation and their financier a stable, predictable payment rate for the next 35 years, a benefit most other property taxpayers will never enjoy. The proposed payment schedule for this pilot will not take into account what the future market value of the Governor Clinton and Yasmin Towers could be over the next 35 years. During the entire 35-year life of the pilot, the buyer will be locked in to payments at a rate that are consistent with parcels with a much lower full market value. And the burden of this property tax shift will be borne by the remaining city property taxpayers, including many senior citizens who will struggle every day with their homes. And I appreciate the sentiment that it's not just about numbers. It was touching to hear so many, and inspiring to hear so many people speak fervently about staying and remaining in a home that they love. And certainly, I'm empathetic to that desire. But I'm also empathetic to the desire of many senior citizens who live in my district who struggle every day to be able to pay their property taxes and remain in homes that they've worked, in their homesteads that they've worked hard for all their lives. And it was interesting. I also, as a native Kingstonian, I grew up in Kingston and used to walk to school past the Osmond Towers while it was being constructed, and being very excited to see that steel rise. And it's my hope that if this pilot is not approved, that the buyer and the seller would rework a deal that, in my mind, makes sense for everybody, not only the people, the residents of these buildings, but for the property taxpayers in my district. Thank you.
Legislator Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just went off. I want to make 3 points. One, this Section 8 housing is desperately needed in Kingston. The vote was 7-0. Deb Brown was not at the final vote, where she could have raised those questions. They could have been addressed within the council chambers in the city of Kingston. The other point that I want to make is that what's not calculated in all of this is if this deal falls through and these seniors have to relocate, or they lose services altogether, there will be a burden within the city of Kingston to pay for increased demand for services, and I don't hear anyone talking about that. And the final point that I want to make is I have no idea this last-minute report and the pictures that came in about these other properties. They were, if they're true and those pictures are accurate, they're deeply disturbing. What I can say is that in the city of Kingston, those kinds of conditions would not be tolerated. We have a building safety division, and we have codes that would be enforced. So I'm in favor of this pilot program. I hear the concerns about it, and I think we need to do a better job with these pilot programs moving forward. But in this situation, I think the need is desperate, and we are ensuring that revenue is coming in. Thanks.
Thank you, Legislator Eckert. Seeing nobody else on the resolution?
Okay, we are a short yes with the following noes: Legislator Joe Maloney, Legislator Waltman, and I have an abstention from Legislator Gerantine.
He's not here anyway.
Oh, well, that just works out then.
So we have a short yes with the following noes: Green, Petit, and Rodriguez.
The resolution is adopted 16-5.
Resolution 9, setting a public hearing on proposed local law 1 of 2018, a local law amending local law 2 of 2006, a local law adopting a county charter form of government for the County of Ulster, State of New York, and amending local law 10 of 2008, a local law adopting an administrative code for the County of Ulster, State of New York, to amend the terms of office for certain Ulster County elected officials, to be held on Tuesday, March 13th, 2018 at 6:05 p.m.
Legislator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess through the chair to the sponsor, we've discussed this a couple of times, and we are in fact actually doing two things sort of in one resolution. I know you looked for Nick and then Nick left, but is it possible, again through the chair to the sponsor, that you would consider dividing the question of term limits and then having a separate discussion or separate vote on the issue of a 4-year term?
Just a point of before you yield, Legislator Maloney, a point of information. I don't believe that resolutions are divisible on the floor. They're divisible in committee. So we wouldn't be able to do that here today.
Where in the rules? I apologize, Mr. Chairman, since you brought this up.
I believe it's a section that refers to divisibility of resolutions. But again,
pull it up, Chris.
I could be wrong, but I think I remember because this came up in the past. Legislative Council, welcome back. We have a question about divisibility of a resolution. My recollection is resolutions are divisible in committee, but not on the floor. Also, we're not really dividing the resolution so much as the law, because the law is the...
You're doing two things in once, though, and that's why I just basically brought that up to go and say, through the chair to the sponsor, whether he would consider that.
Okay.
So.
Well, I guess it's a hypothetical. Legislator Maloney?
I think a lot of individuals had input on both caucuses. I'm really comfortable with the way this is written. I really like it, and I believe it's been done in other counties. So I have no issues. I feel really comfortable that it's going to hold up to any scrutiny, and I really like the way it's laid out. So I'm really not for amending it.
All right, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Legislator.
through the chair to Legislator Maloney, then the issue that has come up has been the idea that currently, at least with the 2-year terms, while there is the problems as highlighted by the chair in his address, at least the public has the ability to be able to change the legislature as the times necessitate. And so the idea of at least staggering terms where you'd at least have half the legislature up every 2 years has sort of come up. I mean, are you willing to be able to entertain it in this resolution simply because once we move this forward, and in fact, if it's in fact voted after the public hearing, voted for referendum, you will not be able to then, I mean, you would then have to then ask for a staggering of terms the same calendar year in which you're then running for a 4-year term. And so you have now sort of lost the issue at that
Is there a
point.
question in there?
Basically, whether or not he would consider adding staggering.
Okay.
I put
All
in the
right.
first part,
I
Mr.
got it.
Chairman. It's okay. I'm here just to remind you.
Well, it went on for a really long time, so it started to sound
apologize.
less like a question and more like a statement.
Apologize,
Legislator Maloney?
Mr. Chairman.
I really like the idea of staggering as well, but to me, it looks like we have to make the decision, is it term limits in 4-year terms or term limits in staggering? It's going to be really tough to do both at this time, and I put in this resolution what I thought was more important, more valuable, and that's where I'm at on it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Legislator Litz.
I mean, maybe I missed something here, much like resolution number 7. Resolution number 9 is to set a public hearing so we can get public comment on these issues. And I can remember not too long ago where we went to a public hearing on a resolution and then it was sent back to committee so that it could be totally reworked. And a year later it came back as a resolution that we could all stand behind. So I don't know why we're having a debate as to whether the public should have comment or not.
Legislator Donaldson.
Yes, I mean, I understand some of the questions that are being asked here, and I also feel that as written, it is somewhat illegal in that it's proposing charter changes, and it has more than one question in the charter change. So I agree with Legislator Rodriguez that certain things would have to be separated. I believe that it should take more discussion before going to the public, but if people wanted to go to the public, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I personally feel that term limits is solving a problem that does not exist. There's a great deal to say about continuity in governance, particularly in the legislature. In regard to legislators, they don't amass a lot of power by being in the legislature. Besides, the public decides every 2 years. And in fact, we have 8 new members sitting at the body this very year. And I also feel that 4-year terms is contrary to good government. You go back and see your constituents every 2 years. That is the way it works. And to say that somebody just all of a sudden is beginning the campaign again after the year, I don't believe that. Particularly in the light that it is single-member districts. Single-member districts means it's a smaller place that you campaign in, and you can easily get out there and campaign. And it doesn't take a massive amount of money to do it. That is so key, and one of the reasons why I pushed for single-member districts so long ago is because it allows more people to run. When you're dealing with the multi-district districts, of course, it it became a lot of money that people had to spend on a campaign. So anybody, including myself, can lose in the next election. And that was proven this year. So I'll be a yes to send it to the public, but I really feel that it needs to be reworked and thought about and then brought forward.
Legislator Maloney, followed by Legislator Nolan. No, he was answering a question from Legislator Rodriguez.
So I look forward to the debate. I think a lot of us are going to have different opinions on a lot of the stuff Dave just spoke to, but I think Legislator Litz is right. We are trying to set a public hearing. I really do think this is going to be counterproductive to debate term limits and these other things right now. I would like to vote on this, seeing that it is a public hearing.
Legislator Nolan?
Yes, one of the reasons that I don't support going to a public hearing is I think there's at least 4 different issues that would be on the table, and it can be very difficult for the public to say they are in favor or against a proposed law that has multiple elements. As has been pointed out, there's the question of term limits, then there's the question of 4-year terms, then there's the question of whether to stagger or lock the terms. And for me, there's another issue, which is the start date. I would not favor a law in which the start date would come into effect before the next election. I did not run for a 4-year term. I ran for a 2-year term, and I would prefer to have my term end at the time that that my constituents voted for me to end. So all of those issues, to me, are all at play in the law as it's written, and I think it would be helpful to have a public hearing on each of those separate items and have them addressed in separate laws if necessary.
Just as a point of information, Legislator Nolan, the effective date is after the next election because it would have to be voted on by the voters at the next election. We wouldn't automatically go into 4-year terms. It would be, the 4-year term would take place after the next election.
Okay, the question came up in caucus and I misunderstood the
Okay.
answer. Thank you.
Legislator Fabiano, followed by Legislator Green.
My only concern is, I know now I realize the 4 elements to this, but the only thing my concern is if we have 4 separate public hearings on these 4 separate elements, there's probably a good chance that we probably won't get anything accomplished in this year on term limits. That's my only concern.
Legislator Green?
Yeah, earlier you said that you encourage us to work together. And I feel like this particular, it's really the first session. We took care of some things in January, but this is really the first session. And I understand it's just for setting a public hearing, but it's been my experience. I served on the town board for 8 years, and we had 4-year terms, and they were staggered terms. And what that did was promote continuity. There is some continuity just because some people run unopposed and are therefore guaranteed a seat. But in terms of designing a system, I think that if we're going to go to 4-year terms, that staggered terms would promote continuity. And I'm very concerned that this and several other pieces of legislation that we're considering this evening are rushed.
Chairman Ronk?
Thank you. I understand the staggering comment that Legislator Green and others have brought up. In fact, when I first sponsored this a few years ago, I had tried to figure out staggering. And one thing to keep in mind when you're talking about town board staggering versus legislature staggering is that we have redistricting every 10 years, which means the lines are going to change. inside the borders of a town, the lines aren't going to change. So you're not going to be elected by people different than who you're representing. In the legislature, because of the way staggering works, we would always have the opportunity to have some people representing constituents that didn't vote for them or didn't have the opportunity to vote for them. And I know people say, well, that happens and people move and things of that nature, but to me it's different for somebody who's lived in the same place for 10 years and may end up being represented by somebody who didn't vote for them, or who they didn't have the opportunity to vote for. And that's the concern that came up with staggering, and quite frankly, no matter how hard I try, I haven't figured out a way to fix it. So that's one of the reasons why I've argued against staggering in this resolution and other ones that I've put in. It's something I can't reconcile with my own mind. Thank you. Thank you.
I think Legislator Donaldson.
Legislator Rodriguez.
Well, since Legislator Donaldson has not spoken yet, I don't know what.
Yeah, yes.
Did he? Oh, he did? All right. Well, let me. Welcome in.
Hold on. There's tech support needed for that. So.
All right, Dave. Wait 1 second. They got to plug you in.
Legislator Donaldson.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, one of the problems I have is there's so many questions that keep coming up on this particular resolution. And in regard to staggering, it creates nothing but apathy amongst the voters. We have low turnout now as there is, when it's an off year. And now all of a sudden there'll be a lot of off years because somebody's going to be running on a staggering year, and it staggers back and forth. So the whole legislative body is not up for election at one time. And I believe the whole legislative body should be up for election at one time. So again, there's a lot of questions here. I mean, I support Legislator Maloney's attempt to do the right thing, but I really feel we need to look at this and look at it closely and come out with a good product.
Legislator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To just address the macro issue, it's okay that we're actually having a discussion about this because we're being thoughtful about setting a public hearing, right? And clearly, this is an important issue that will potentially affect us for years to come.
Let me cut in for a second.
Yes.
A lot of people have not been standing up tonight. Since we have the folks here who are trying to fine tune the microphones, if we could stand up while we do the discussion, with new legislators, I was having a standing up amnesty day, but I'm realizing that was a poor idea when we've got the professionals here to help us out. So, if you wouldn't mind standing.
Okay. Of course, the chair decided at this exact moment to implement that rule. That's okay.
Actually, I stood up as an attempt to try and dial them in without having to ask anybody to stand up. So
apparently, we missed your attempt at leadership there.
It is what it is.
So, regardless, Mr. Chair. So at this time, I think the way that I read it, you actually can divide a question. I'm not going to bring that up right now, though. At this time, I guess I will either move to refer this to committee. I guess the Committee on Laws and Rules, I'm assuming, is where this would go to, correct? That
you
was
could
the
send it to
originating.
Health if you wanted to, but Laws and Rules would make sense.
But Laws and Rules would be the originating committee, right? That's where it was before. So I guess at this time, I'll move to refer this to committee. I'll bite the bullet.
Move to refer to Laws and Rules. Is there a second?
Second.
On the referral?
I don't even know where the hell.
We're going to be a short now.
Thank you.
How's that? Keep it exciting.
Everybody loves Grimace.
All right. So we are a short yes with 4 no's. Looks like Eckert. We're a short yes with 4 no's. I was going to say, is it easier, I guess, if I do that, right?
Yes, leave it on the table.
So
Step
you can
back,
go
spin
engage.
around. Do a dance.
We're not doing that. Short yes, flying nose, Eckert, Bartels,
See, this is good. He's
Pettit,
looking away.
and Archer.
The referral is defeated with 6 yeses and 16 noes.
Okay. On the resolution.
On the resolution,
We are short yes.
leave it on the table.
Wait.
Are you using it for math? We're going to have to glue those things to the desks.
Yes. Okay. So we're a short yes with the following no's, Green and Nolan.
The resolution is adopted 20-2.
Resolution 24, establishing a policy to prohibit the use of taxpayer funds to place the likeness or name of elected official on public service announcements, non-commercial, and non-political advertising by Ulster County.
Legislator Maloney for an amendment.
Yeah, we've pulled, we've separated this resolution. So I'm going to be pulling a lot of, changing a couple of words, pulling a couple of things out. Third paragraph, whereas county signs and facilities not covered by Public Officers Law 73B have the name and likeness of elected officials placed upon them with the use of public funds, and that is stricken. You can tell me if I'm using the right terminology.
Yeah, I mean, all the legislators have it on their desks.
So you're going to see it as I'm reading it.
Everyone's comfortable with just saying as it's amended in the packet?
Yes.
So if you want to just
So I
say
don't have
amend
to
it
go
as
through-
it's amended in the
Okay.
packet.
I thought somebody told me I had to go through line by line.
Sometimes legislators ask for clarification, but there seems to be unanimous consent, so.
Okay.
Was there a
As in the
second?
packet.
I'll second it.
On the amendment?
I never said that.
We're a short yes. With, wait, how many no's on the amendment? No's on the amendment are Nolan on the amendment. I said, okay. We're a short yes on the amendment,
We are short
which is what I
yes
said before.
with 1 no. Legislator Jim Maloney.
The amendments are adopted 21-1.
On the resolution as amended?
We are short yes with 1 no. Jim Maloney.
We're a short yes with 3 no's, legislators Eckert, Green, and Nolan.
Did you want to speak, Legislator Nolan?
Yes, Dave's making
If you'd stand. Thank you.
Yes, I think this is a resolution that brings forward a solution without a problem. And I think that it is one of the resolutions that is rushed so that we don't have in front of us a list of the kinds of public service announcements that would be affected, what we are currently doing and who is doing them, where this actually applies currently. So it's really difficult to see that it would benefit by changing it. I think if there is not in fact a problem, that we should not enact a law to deal with it, and that we should wait until there are specifics that we need to deal with. So that's the explanation for my no.
Legislator Green.
And I will stand.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I also feel this is rushed. I absolutely strongly agree with the need, and I agree with the intent, but I am baffled by why pieces of legislation are not considered very carefully before brought to a public vote.
Legislator Eckert.
I just would like to explain my no vote as well, and that is because I understand that there's a potential to be abused here to put an elected official's likeness on a public service announcement. It can function as a de facto campaign message. But I also sometimes think about the effectiveness of sending out a public announcement. Sometimes the most effective way to send out that announcement is to put somebody on it who has a great deal of charisma or has some special connection to the issue, and that might, in some instances, be an elected official. So I think it's important for elected officials to use this this mechanism by putting their name on a public service announcement wisely and to not overuse it, not to abuse it. But at the same time, I think there are instances where it's really effective to have someone on there who might happen to be an elected official.
Okay. Next resolution, because it's, you have to
Yeah.
announce the vote.
The vote on the resolution as amended, it is adopted, 18-4.
Resolution 34, approving the execution of a contract in excess of $50,000 entered into by the county, Ulster County Industrial Development Agency, Department of Planning.
Legislator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I realize that this will pass tonight, and I understand that. I know, Mr. Chairman, that we have noticed that there may at times be conflicts in the roles over at the Office of Business Services, as well as, of course, the administrative function of the IDA being handled in one office. And it is my hope that during the course of the year that we begin to examine that relationship and maybe offer possible solutions. I know, there's a handful of us that have brought these items up during the course of debate, during the course of committee, and it is my hope that we will continue that dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Rodriguez. Anybody else? On the resolution.
We are a short yes.
We're a short yes with the following noes: Donaldson, Hepner, Rodriguez. Anybody else? All right, just the three of us.
The resolution is adopted, 19-3.
Resolution 45, authorizing the chairman of the Ulster County Legislature to execute a grant agreement with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation for the Ashokan Rail Trail Project.
On the resolution.
We are a short yes with the following noes: Legislator Worrow and Legislator Joe Maloney.
We are a short yes with the following noes: Legislators Donaldson and Green.
And Petit.
Oh, Petit. Sorry. Thank you.
The resolution is adopted, 17-5.
Resolution 46, amending capital project number 459, Ashokan Rail Trail Project, to include the cost for due diligence study of a project labor agreement for trail construction, Department of Planning.
Legislator Litz.
I'll stand.
I appreciate it.
I'm trying to figure out why this would be in non-consent. Because even just as short as last December, we had a resolution number 374 to amend this policy, and it's a legislative policy, to do due diligence for a project labor agreement for projects that are equal to or exceed $5 million. So why would we vote no on a policy that we just amended? So it's almost like, well, I don't know why you would do that. Number two, if this is defeated, I guess then we can pick and choose what projects we do or do not want the policy to refer to, and therefore it's not a policy.
Legislator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I'm disappointed insofar as that, and mind you, I'm a yes on this, just for clarity's sake. I'm a yes, but any one of us can be a no for a myriad of reasons, whether or not that person doesn't feel that this is best adequately addressing the problem, or that it's not meeting our needs. And so I'm not going to go and question the motivation of my colleagues. If there happens to be a no vote, that's why it's in non-consent, or if it's an amendment, or there's a myriad of reasons why something gets moved to non-consent, I'm not going to go and question their motivation. So just you can bring up and ask the question of if whether or not someone's against this, or speak to the virtues of the resolution, but we're not going to go and question people's intent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
On the resolution.
We are a short yes.
We're a short yes with one no. Legislator Petit.
The resolution is adopted, 21 to 1.
Resolution 53, authorizing the purchase of county fleet vehicles for the County of Ulster, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $717,000 and authorizing the issuance of $717,000 bonds of said county to pay the cost thereof.
Archer.
Yes.
Bartels.
Yes.
DeLon.
Yes.
Donaldson.
Yes.
Eckert.
Yes.
Fabiano.
Yes.
Gerantine. Green.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Hepner.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Lopez. Mayo.
Yes.
Maloney James.
Yes.
Maloney Joseph.
Yes.
Nolan.
Yes.
Petite.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ronk.
Yes.
Waro.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 22 to 0.
Resolution 55, authorizing the purchase of highway and bridge equipment for construction and maintenance purposes for the County of Ulster, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $2,424,000 and authorizing the issuance of $2,424,000 bonds of said county to pay the cost thereof.
Archer.
Yes.
Bartels.
Yes.
DeLon.
Yes.
Donaldson.
Yes.
Eckert.
Yes.
Fabiano.
Yes.
Gerantine. Green. Haynes.
Yes.
Hepner.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Lopez. Mayo. Maloney James.
Yes.
Maloney Joseph.
Yes.
Nolan.
Yes.
Petite.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ronk.
Yes.
Waro.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
And Green. The resolution is adopted, 22 to 0.
Please, nobody get up and leave yet, except for Legislator Green, because I didn't catch her beforehand. We have Legislator Jim Maloney is going to read those who we are adjourning in memory of. If everyone please keep their seats and keep the conversation non-existent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are closing this evening in memory of Donald R. Simmons of Kingston, New York, Charles Curran of Milton, New York, Ralph J. Rizzo, Jr. of Walk Hill, New York, Joseph T. Dengler of Saugerties, New York, Barbara Hyde of Highland, New York, William J. Dwyer of Colony, New York, Joyce E. Wilklow of Highland, New York, G. Calvin Coastman of Marlborough, New York, Ronald D. Cousins of Shokan, New York, Stacy L. Hummel of Kingston, New York, Dorothy F. Chase of Napanoch, New York, Richard W. Griggs III of Kingston, New York, Walter J. Conenfall of Pine Bush, New York, Andrew J. Bavina of New Paltz, New York, Diane E. Turner of Ellenville, New York, Charles J. Kelly of Pine Bush, New York, Vince Doherty of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Robert D. Haslam of Daytona Beach, Florida, Dorothy M. Grasso of Kingston, New York, Joseph V. LaFera of High Falls, New York, William A. Smith Sr. of Walk Hill, New York, Kelly Jean Woodward Rosa of Milton, New York, Mark K. Glazier of Stone Ridge, New York, Dorothy M. Casal of Saugerties, New York, Michael E. Kobe of Walk Hill, New York, Donald E. Decker III of Ellenville, New York, Randy L. Hornbeck of Stone Ridge, New York, Mary E. Hayback of Walk Hill, New York, Junius L. Harris Jr. of Kingston, New York. He was a retired Kingston police officer and a investigator for our DA's office for many years, so he's sorely missed. Kristen M. Warrens Nissen of Boyceville, New York, Reverend Paul A. Bennis of High Falls, New York, Joan D. McCourt of St. Remy, New York, Patricia L. I. Krause Russo of Highland, New York, Jean L. Dunn of Kerhonkson, New York, Thomas J. McInerney Sr. of Ulster Park, New York, and Robert F. Bechtold of Kingston, New York.
Legislator Waltman.
Yes, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add a couple more names. Frederick Ryan of Kingston, New York, Chris Smedman of Kingston, New York, and Anthony Dancy of Saugerties, New York.
Legislator Fabiano.
Yes, I would also like to announce the passing of a very, very good friend of mine who passed away suddenly today while vacationing with his wife out in the Caribbean. That would be Judge Dan Lamb, Jr. from the town of Saugerties. Judge Lamb had just started his fourth term. He has been a lifelong attorney in the town of Saugerties, friends with many, many, many people who he's helped over the years. You could pass him on the street, get some free advice if you need it. With Dan, it wasn't always about the money, it was personal friendship. And the town of Saugerties is going to miss a very, very good friend and a community activist, and I know I'm going to miss him deeply. They should have more people in this world like Dan Lamb Jr. Very good to everyone. I will miss him deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Fabiano. The last name I'd like to add, or speak about at least, is one of our retired canine officers, Beal, passed away in his retirement in Florida at 11. And I always want to acknowledge when one of our canines passes away, because they don't get to live as long as we do, but they are certainly officers and provide so much to our county and the people who live here. So we'll miss Beal. With that, the next regular meeting of the Ulster County Legislature will be held on March 20th, 2018 at 7 p.m. in the Legislative Chambers, 6th floor of the Ulster County Office Building. There will also be a special meeting of the Ulster County Legislature on March 13th, immediately following the public hearing that we're having that evening. Also right here, 244 Ferris Street, Kingston, New York, 6th floor in Chambers. Resolution deadline for next month is February 28th at 12 noon. Legislator Litz.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for adjournment, please.
Second.
Nice guy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sir. It's online.
I got last year's.